How we doing? Good, good.
Coach, can you just kind of take us through the process of hearing from Eli and what the process was like up to taking the job?
Yeah, sure. First of all, I've known Coach Drink for 10 or 12 years there, but as you know, at Houston, Coach Holgerson was let go when the season ended. So there was a little brief period of time in there where none of us had jobs, and so I had started talking to Drink actually about coming on as an analyst. He's just one of those deals. Hey, you don't find a job, I've got a spot for you. In the meantime, the defensive coordinator took the job at LSU, and I've known Kevin Peoples for a number of years too. So when I saw Peeps leave, I knew there was an opportunity for me to slide into a full-time position. So Coach Drink and I started talking, and things worked out. Really smooth transition. Really good fit.
Now, you've obviously had a lot of different coaching stops in your career.
Yeah.
But what would you say was the most influential for you, and what did that experience teach you?
Along my way, what has been the most influential? First of all, I think that every stop in your career, I think, prepares you for that next step. So there's none of those steps, even though some of those jobs weren't glamorous jobs. There's none of those that I would take back and not have gone through that experience, because they all prepare you. So every step of the way, there's been little different pieces that's made me who I am. So that's hard to just pinpoint one specific thing there. I feel like that just through my journey since I started chasing this dream of coaching at the highest level possible in 1999, every step has prepared me for this moment. So I'm excited to be here. I have always had a desire to coach the best and coached against the best, and so I'm excited to be here. But in no way am I thinking it's time to kick my feet up now, because I've arrived and we're just getting started, and I'm anxious to get going.
What specifically do you like about what Eli has kind of built here in Columbia in the years he's been here?
Yeah, culture number one. Obviously I researched this position when a job was extended to me too. So just everyone that I know that has worked with Coach Drink or is currently on staff here, there's some connections that I have with current staff members. I was at Houston for 4 years with Brandon Jones, who's the O-line coach here. Alfred Davis and I, go back about 10 years. So, just the things that I've heard about him, the type of man that I know that he is, and the type of culture that's in this building. I think he's an elite leader and has got a ton of momentum here. So hopefully we can capitalize on the success that he has been having, but especially last season. And I just think it's a tremendous opportunity.
What's been your impression of your group of players since you've been able to kind of get in there now that we get a full week of spring camp?
Yeah, any time that you come in as a new coach, you wonder how you're going to be accepted and embraced, and are people going to be willing to allow you to coach them? I've been impressed with that part of things. The veterans that we have here, the guys that have played significant plays here, are willing to be coached. And so those guys are I think you buy into the person first, and then you buy into the vision. I think we've got them bought in to who I am and what I'm about, and I've been really impressed with their work ethic as well. So just the way that they learn in meetings, them allowing me to coach them, and the way that they work in practice has been really positive.
How have you been able to kind of connect with this group of guys since you've been here? I know Coach Woodson said you had one-on-ones with everybody. So what was your thing to kind of get to know everybody?
Yeah, well, everybody's different. I think that, like I just answered her question with, I think that people buy into the person first, and then they buy into the vision. Just trying to connect with each one of them on a personal level. Everybody has a different story. Everybody has different hot buttons. You got to know how to push people. So really the meetings in trying to learn the room is just kind of learning some background information on all of those guys, and getting an idea of what makes them tick, and how to push them, and how to get the best out of them.
Real quick, going back to Coach Jones, did you have any questions for him, and how did he help you through this process of?
Yeah, just giving me insight on, we were at Houston together for 4 years, so him and I went through an experience there, and so we're able to compare and contrast, where he is now, the things that are different here or maybe better here, and so just having someone that I trust and have worked with in the past to tell me how things are here, made it easy for me.
The lead returner in your rooms, Johnny Walker Jr.
Right,
What's been
right.
some of your early impressions of him, and what does a leap forward for him look like next season?
What was the last part of that question?
What's a leap forward?
A leap forward. Got you. Okay. So first of all, when I took the job, Coach Drink kind of went through the roster with me. I knew who Joe Moore was. I recruited him at Houston when he was leaving Arizona State, so I had some familiarity there. Obviously, I knew that Johnny had a really good season, and was Cotton Bowl MVP and has played a lot of football around here. So those guys, really. Having those guys that, we talk about in here that great players make everyone around them better. So that's really the challenge for someone like Johnny, is not only try to improve as an individual, but also, instead of calling guys out, call guys up. Try to help me coach some of these younger guys. So I think that he's embracing that leadership role. Something that he communicated to me when I met with him one-on-one when I first got here was the fact that he looked up to D-Rob when D-Rob was here. I think D-Rob was the alpha in this room, and that person is gone and someone else has to move into that role. So those standards that have been set here and upheld by players of the past like D-Rob, it's Johnny's turn now. So him understanding that is his job to make sure that standard stays the standard, and that we raise the play of everyone else in this room, and that he helps groom those young players and get them into a position where we feel like they can play good football for us. He's embraced that leadership part of that. He's a lead by example guy. He's not a real vocal type of leader, and that's okay. There's different ways to do that, and he's setting a good example by the way that he's handling his business on a daily basis. And Joe as well. Joe's another guy that is a quiet worker. And right now he's trying to establish some credibility and become a dude for us. And while he's in the process of doing that, he's just head down, get some work done, and he's starting to become consistent, and is flashing on tape and is doing some really good things as well. So once he gets that type of credibility, then he's also going to put himself in position to lead.
Obviously, coming in at the same time as Corey, what have you seen from him these first few weeks that he's been here, kind of taking the reins of this defense?
From Corey?
Yes.
First of all, extremely organized and extremely smart. I've known about Corey as well. We've got some. What would I say? I guess there's some people that both him and I have worked with. I've never worked with him, but just the structure, the organization, the plan that he has, and the way that. The way that he lays that out for us and gets us aligned every day, I think we're all in, and bought into that vision. So just been really impressed with the structure in the organization, the communication.
Brian, you mentioned knowing Eli for quite a while. I know you guys have never been on the same staff, but
Right.
I'm assuming that happened somewhere in your past at Arkansas. Can you tell us about kind of where you got to know him and how?
Yeah. Well, in between college jobs, I left Central Arkansas in around 2008, 2009, and took a defensive coordinator job at Fayetteville High School. And at that point in time, Coach Drink was the offensive coordinator. I was the defensive coordinator at Fayetteville High School when he was the offensive coordinator at Springdale High School. We were in the same conference, so he got me. We played once, I think, before he ended up taking an analyst job at Auburn, but they got after us pretty good, my first year there at Fayetteville. So I've known him from that, and obviously he was at Arkansas State under Gus, and then also under Brian Harsin. And when Harsin was leaving, I was coming into Arkansas State. So there was a couple of weeks there where Drink was still at Arkansas State, had not left and gone to Boise yet, and I was already in there working for Coach Anderson, so we crossed over again there. So just one of those guys I've stayed in touch with.
A lot of coaches that get to this level will talk about how many guys there are that are high school coaches that are good enough to do this that never get that break or make that connection. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
the fact that you and Eli are here, what Gus has done,
Yeah.
you kind of look back at that
Yeah.
with a little amazement.
Yeah, it really, and there's another one too. At that point in time, when we were in that conference, Barry Loney was the offensive coordinator at Bentonville. He's the offensive coordinator at Illinois now too. So there was a couple of guys in that league, but that's the hard way to do it. You don't see that very often. I think that's why that's uncommon. It's crazy that just that small conference right there in Arkansas has turned turned out, a few pretty good ball coaches. But that's definitely the hard path to start out at that high school level and then try to work your way into college jobs. But and I didn't start there. I was in some college jobs before I went to Fayetteville and stuff. But it's been, the journey to get here hasn't always just been a straight arrow. There's been a lot of times where I had to take a step back to get to where I wanted to go. But it's all about trying to put yourself in position to be where I am today. So.
You mentioned that you crossed paths with Al Davis as well.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that was an
Yeah.
Can you-
When Alfred finished playing at the University of Arkansas was when I was at Fayetteville High School. And so Al likes to say that I gave him his first job. He was actually a volunteer. So when I was at Fayetteville High School, Al was coming over and he was coaching defensive tackles for me when I was the defensive coordinator there. He had just got done playing at Arkansas and was trying to get into coaching. So, hey, we're like, hey, come on over and we'll cut you loose with some defensive tackles and stuff. So I think that's where he found the passion for coaching. He realized he came over and had a good time doing that, had some good players at the time, and realized that was his calling and that's what he wanted to do. So that's pretty cool too.
On an X's and O's standpoint, how
Yep.
you'll be working quite closely
Yeah,
with him,
yeah.
just how do your two styles mesh?
Yeah, I think, and that's a good question, and that's one of the reasons that I felt good about taking this job too is first of all, in the last 10 years, I've had the entire D-line. So I've had the interior and the edges at both Arkansas State and at Houston. I've been on staffs before where it was split, and you had a D-tackles coach and an edges coach. The chemistry between those two coaches has to be really good in order for that dynamic to work. There are certain things that you've got to be able to work together on. As a defensive line, you want to have chemistry as a unit. When it comes to pass rush games, when it comes to, stunts and pressures and things like that, you got to be on the same page. So there's a lot of things that we'll do together. So knowing Al and knowing that our coaching philosophies match and our personalities match, also made this a good fit for me.
How seamless is the transition of so many coaches with Arkansas backgrounds? How does that kind of make it easy for you to come into second and do what you do?
Yeah, well, I don't know that it really changes anything in terms of when it gets into just the ball part of things, but just getting here and being familiar with Rick Jones and Al Davis and Brandon Jones and Coach Drink and some of those guys I've known for years, that definitely makes it easy. And when you know people on staff and they also know you, there's some things that are understood from a philosophy standpoint, just about how things work, the dynamics in the office and stuff. So I think it's helped with that part of things, but doesn't really have much to do with the football side of things.
Brian, with what you were talking about earlier about knowing, kind of gauging each player, their differences, and how to connect with them, it also seems to be a big part of the culture and philosophy that Eli has built here. How would you kind of assess that ability on the staff, and how important do you think that is to translating to on-field success?
That's critical. The player-coach relationship, I think that, you can't really coach guys hard and you can't really push guys hard unless you know them and unless you love them. So getting to know them on that level, I think, allows you to push them and get the most out of them. So Coach Drink fosters that. It's about more than just ball here, and it's about getting to know the player and caring about the people in your room. That's the culture here, and I think that's why you see the results that he's been able to get. Is when you get to know those guys on a personal level and that they understand that you care about them on a personal level and it's more than just football, then you got a chance to push those guys and be pretty good. And I think that's where this program is.
Talked about getting to work with Brandon Jones for 4 years. What makes him so successful with what he does?
Yeah, well, first of all, Brandon's he's got an air raid background. So, Dana Holgerson was the head coach when we were there at Houston. I think all of those guys were at Texas Tech when Brandon was playing. He was Cliff Kingsbury's O-line coach when Kingsbury was at Texas Tech. So, he had that background. Obviously the O-line coach and the D-line coach, from a combative standpoint, you go against each other a lot of the practice time. So, him and I being together for 4 years, we've spent a lot of days out there on the practice field, competing against each other. So I know what type of man he is. I know what type of football coach he is, and what type of job he did here last year as well. So, what was the last part of that question?
What makes him good at what he does?
What makes him good? I think that, kind of what he hit on there is the relationships with players. players. I think everybody that plays for B. Jones knows that he cares about them. And, again, that allows you to really get the most out of your players and to push them when they know you care. I think he's got a special quality where he's got that type of bond with his players.
Going back to Johnny Walker, last week he described you having a lot of juice and energy.
Okay.
Can you kind of describe that for us because we're not
Yeah, describe juice and energy, or just describe how I am?
how you are yet.
Yeah, well, I mean, I am passionate about what I do. You have to love it. I think that comes through probably in the presentation when we're sitting in here in the meeting room. But I also feel like, everybody says it starts up front, and it really does. And I think that if you're coaching in the front, you kind of have to bring that type of juice and energy to the table. That's just my coaching style. It doesn't make it the best coaching style. That's just what fits me. I am a high caffeine guy and a high energy guy, and hopefully we play that way.
Last week, Coach Patoon talked about implementing the joker role opposite a traditional defensive end. What do you see that position looking like, and what can it bring to the team?
Good question. I don't want to tip too much there, but that particular player for us that plays into the boundary it has got to be able to play in space a little bit. He is a hybrid outside linebacker type. He's someone that, number one, is recruited because he can rush the passer, but is probably a little bit lighter in terms of his body weight, what he looks like. It's a little bit different body type than what we play with to the field. For us, that's the premier pass rusher in this defense. You're looking for longer, leaner, it would look like a basketball player is the prototype that you're looking for at that position over there into the boundary. And you're looking for a bigger anchor type into the field. So Johnny and Joe and Darius Smith are playing that joker position for us into the boundary. And I think there's some good, healthy competition there. I think all of those guys are making each other better. Iron sharpens iron. It's really fun to watch those guys compete. Honestly, I think they're all right there on each other's heels. I mean, if somebody's having an off day, that next person is capable of playing winning football for us. So I like the way that the depth is developing at that position there.
Can you talk about a couple of the transfers that have come in here?
Yeah.
What you've seen earlier, Zion Young and Alfred Smith?
Yeah, the two transfers, shout out to Coach Peoples. He left us in a pretty good situation there with Zion Young coming in and with Darius Smith coming in. Been really impressed with, a lot of times you can get transfers from other Power 5 institutions, and there's a certain sense of entitlement that they have when they get to your program. Have seen zero of that from either one of those guys. Really humble. Willing to learn. They allow me to coach them. They work hard. And I tell guys all the time, it's my job to teach and motivate. It's their job to learn and give effort. And these guys are doing that on a consistent daily basis. We're going to be the product that we want to be as long as they continue to hold up that end of the deal, and I do as well. But those guys, obviously you can look at them from a measurable standpoint, and they're both prototypes for the position that they're playing. Zion is what we want guys to look like that we're recruiting at that field end. Darius is what we want guys to be built like that play that joker position that's into the boundary. Those guys are learning fast and already you can see the flashes. I know you guys aren't at practice very much, and haven't seen any of the competitive team stuff that we do, but there's flashes of, oh wow, here and there from those guys. And if we can get them to be that person consistently, which I think we can do that before we start playing games around here, I think that both of those guys are going to be good players for us in the fall. Excited about them. And I think those are the only two transfers, correct?
I think so.
Yeah.
But one player that's not here yet is Loney.
Right. Yeah. So another shout out to Coach Peoples there. Just watching the three signees, been really impressed with the quality that we were able to sign here at that defensive end position. All three of those guys are prototypical measurables body types. Excuse me, been a little under the weather. But both of them have really impressive all three of them have really impressive high school tape. Excited to get our hands on them. Would not be shocked if one or two of them isn't able to help us this fall. Just from what I've already seen on the high school tape and where their floor is, if that makes sense.
Anything else, Coach?
All right, appreciate you.